I mentioned previously on the podcast that things seem to be going very well with the Instagram handle and the TikTok handle as well. Um, on Instagram, the handle I have there is sales underscore conversations, and I'm putting up stuff there almost on a daily basis. I rip some stuff from the blog, I share links to the podcast. Um, what else? Oh yeah, I have the almost daily videos as well, and the videos in particular have been getting a lot of interaction, a lot of engagement. So I've been spending a lot of time debating business ideas back and forth with different people, and through that I've made a few friends. One of them, well, it goes by the name Sam and Wright, and they are another business consulting agency, but they're not based in this part of the they're not based on my own end of the globe. Okay, well, not too far anyway. I am based in Abuja. That's for those of you who've been listening for a very long while. You know that I started off in Lagos about 10 years ago as a wedding photographer, and now currently in Abuja. So the person I've been chatting with in this company anyway, I'm assuming that he is the head honcho. I should have asked exactly who it is that I'm dealing with. And that's one of the difficulties I have with interacting with corporate accounts, because you find that you have a really good relationship with someone today, and then you reach out to them next week, and it turns out the person that you were chatting with isn't there anymore. In fact, you didn't even know that maybe multiple people were handling the Instagram handle or the WhatsApp phone number and stuff like that. So, for those of you who run proper agencies with lots of staff, something that you ought to consider. Um, yeah, something you ought to consider. You know that there should be some proper handoff when you're changing staff, and then maybe perhaps even when separate people are manning these channels, they identify themselves going forward. It just helps with a much more personal response, a much more personable response. Yeah, if I can put it that way. Anyway, so Salmon Wright, they're based in between the Lagos and Ibadan axis. So that part of the world, the center of business, finance, and all exciting stuff in Nigeria anyway. Because you kind of have a couple of tech hubs here and there. There's sorry, not tech hubs. I mean business hubs. In You have this major agricultural market in Kano, a commodities market based out of Kano. Then you also have significant business hubs in the eastern part of the country. Hmm, I should have done more research before starting this podcast. Anyway, you have business hubs in the eastern part of the country where they have lots of stuff like electronics. Let's see, what else? Textiles, and then you have Lagos, which is also a hub in the sense that, well, the port is there, so there's some trading activity, but a lot of the financial services sectors and stuff like that in Nigeria, they operate out of that end, Lagos. So those are some of the hubs that we have here. That's for those of you listeners of the show who are not Nigerian, because I've noticed that for some reason, even though this podcast is titled Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry, for some reason, 70%, over 70%, the last time I checked, of my listeners happen to be American. So for those of you Nigerian listeners, I know that I'm just letting our brothers and sisters from over the pond, I'm just letting them know what's up, letting them know a little bit about our wonderful country here. Anyway, I've wasted too much time on the intro, so let me just head straight to the point. So, I made a new friend, Simon Wright, business agency, and the fellow I was chatting with wanted my opinion on a couple of stuff. In the beginning, I warned that he might not like my opinion because usually I come at these things from a traditional sales perspective, and it usually is kind of counter to what the prevailing ideas are out there around how to grow your businesses and which business principles apply and things of that nature. But anyway, I thought it was an interesting conversation, and that's the reason why I've come up here today, just to share some of the extracts with you guys. Now, the post that they put up was about rivalry in marketing, rivalry as a marketing tactic, and why it works. So, some of the examples that were given on the post, it was a carousel, by the way. So, um, If I pause, it's because I'm trying to slide through the carousels and I'm pretty much just freestyling and letting you guys know what my um, first impressions are, especially filtered through a sales and personal selling lens. So the examples given were Samsung and Apple, the rivalry between Messi and Ronaldo, Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy. Those are Nigerian musicians. That's for those of you who are not Nigerians. And then, of course, BMW or Benz. In fact, there's something I can remember because back in primary school, we actually did have lots of those debates. Are you going to be a BMW person or a Benz person? Then, of course, there's never ending Coca Cola or Pepsi, and then PlayStation or Xbox. I wasn't a gamer as a young one, so I kind of missed this one, but it's something that I caught in passing, and I understand that it still happens today because it seems that lots of gamers out there are actually not just the kids, but you have people in my own age bracket, people 35 and over, who are active gamers. So even that is still going on. And so this was an example of some of the marketing rivalries that are um, going on in the market, around us every day. And Simon Wright rightfully say that that's just a basic characteristic of being human, and they identify that as some of the unwritten laws of marketing. So that's how Simon Wright would like to identify that. So they try to key in on this idea of the basic human nature or the law of rivalry, that we are intrinsically competitive, and we thrive in rivalry, and we like to take advantage of the spirit of competition, and then we use that to push ourselves to new limits and also to show how unique we are. Of course, there's no quarrel there. All those things are true. Or, okay, rather, those are things that I agree with. They say that human beings are intrinsically egoistic, and that's the reason why we enjoy rivalry in all spheres of life. And so, because of that, things are not just choices anymore, but rather the things that we use, the things that we buy, whether BMW or Benz, or whether PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, these things now become ways to express our identity. And yeah, with that, I would agree as well. So Salmon Wright further claimed that our favorite brands know this, and that's what they use to reinforce their brands in the mind of the target audience, in the mind of people like you and I, and that is what Salmon Wright has identified as the rivalry effect, because you pick someone in a similar category or rival, and then you position yourselves, and then you reinforce how you stand in relation. You how do I put it? Well, you just reinforce your position basically in opposition to the other people. So that's how this idea is supposed to work. This sorry, let me scroll. What did we call it again? The principle of, okay, the rivalry effect, as Simon Wright calls it. So the rivalry effect. And yeah, so of course they advise that you need to come up with the right strategies, proper implementation, so they can use the rivalry effect in the marketplace. Now, is there any problem with much of what has been expanded on in this carousel? I would say no. There's a lot of stuff that actually is correct and rather agreeable. The only thing that I would like to point out, especially since a couple of days ago on this podcast here, I was talking about how sometimes traditional ideas are enough to move the needle for us in our businesses, and we don't have to look for new concepts. And so this is another one of these kind of ideas. So in this case, Simon Wright coming up with this real nice idea of the rivalry effect. But the thing is, there's a traditional term that already exists and has been employed by marketing and advertising professionals over the years. Basically, people who are in marketing communications. So PR, advertising, what else? Marketing, okay, to a certain extent, maybe sales, but since sales is not worried about the brand perception per se, maybe not. Anyway, so the idea has been called positioning for a very long time. I can't remember the book in which the idea was espoused, but it's something that is fairly, I'll say fairly recent. If you're going to think of business as a whole, it's something that's fairly recent. It's definitely a book that was written. Um, before my lifetime anyway. If I was to guess, I'd have to look for the book. I should have Googled before I started this podcast recording. I guess that's the disadvantage of doing these things on the fly. Anyway, so the idea is called positioning, and positioning is something that marketing communications professionals use. And the idea is this: that when you're coming into the market and you're trying to get people to understand what it is that you do, it's really hard when nobody knows you. So you pick somebody who is an established player in the market, and then you try and show how you are like that person, or try and show how you are different from that person. And that's just the idea, basically, so that when people see, they kind of understand. So it's the whole thing, like when Apple Computers was rolling out, and all of their branding was putting them out to be the young tech revolutionary upstarts in opposition to IBM and all the other tech companies that were dominant at the time. So that was an example of positioning, that we're new, we're young, we're Apple, we're in the market, but we're flexible, we're fun, we're creative. Those guys over there, IBM, they're stale, they're old, there's no innovation, they have nothing to offer. So if you like vitality and fresh ideas, come with us, be with Apple, be where the cool kids are. Let's leave those old guys alone. So that's an example of positioning. And yeah, so that's something that has been done for a very long time. So these ideas already exist and they go by different names, but the most popular one that you're going to find is positioning. So if after you're done with this podcast, if you just Google positioning in marketing or positioning in branding, you're going to find all the material that you need to learn some more about this. So it's really, I like the post because it has keyed into something that we can use to distinguish ourselves in businesses, sorry, in our business, because actually it's something that we also can do when we're in a personal sales situation. For instance, people who raise funds these days, like to say things like, "Oh, we are the Airbnb of whatever," or "We are the Uber of um, whatever." The idea is that if you use, everybody knows what Uber is. So if you're coming up with a website, let's say you're coming up with a website, and okay, let me stick to the wedding and the event space. So if you're coming up with a website or an app, and on that app you're going to have 1,000 photographers in each city in Nigeria, and you can just hit the app, and photographers will, I mean, whichever photographer is closest to you, the bride, will ping you up and send you a message. You guys can discuss packages or whatever. Let's just say someone does come up with that sort of idea, and you're speaking to investors because you need funds to launch the idea. That's one of the ways that you could uh, pitch the idea to the investor. You would just say that this is who we are. This is what we're trying to do. We are going to be the Ubers. We are going to be the Uber of wedding photography in Nigeria. And so, with that one statement, your investors will get it that Uber, app on the phone. I press it, who's around, who's available, how much. I click, and then I'm able to select a wedding photographer. So, but for those of you who are looking for new business ideas, I don't think this idea is going to work. So don't try it, because I think wedding photography, or the event and wedding space, is a complex. It's a complex sale, and so one touch, that's not going to work. For instance, a wedding photographer is going to want to know location, wedding date, let's see what else, album size, frames, blah blah blah. Lots of conversations back and forth. So you can't just really ping. It's not going to be as simple as trying to get a taxi. So it's not an idea I think will work. But this is just an example that I just came up with on the fly to show how positioning works. So you say we are going to be the Uber of the wedding photography industry, and then your investors will get it like, oh, okay, yeah, now I know what you're trying to do. How much do you guys need? And then the conversation moves on. So, salmon, right? It's as spelled, but one word. So SAM, and then AND, and then right is WRIGHT, put together as one word. If you want to have a look at them, their stuff on Instagram, there's lots of cool stuff. So if you have a look and follow, it'd be nice, especially for those of you in the wedding and the event space. It makes a lot of sense for us to follow all these other marketing professionals, business consultants, all these other people, so that we can come across interesting and creative ways that we can use to move the business forward. So this is not an endorsement per se. I'm just saying This is one of my new friends. So hit them up on Instagram, have a look, see what else they have, and let's take advantage of social media, not just to learn the technical aspects of the business, because traditionally that is what those of us in the wedding and the event space do. Photographers follow other photographers so they can learn how to edit, to light, to compose. What else? And then wedding planners follow other wedding planners so that they can see different decor patterns or what else. And then food people follow other food people so they can see the latest and the greatest cuisine and the newest plating ideas and then stuff like that. So we can go broader. So photographers, you can follow people like Sam and Wright and other business consultants out there so that you learn not just how to shoot and compose and to edit, but also to see how you can use the rivalry effect, in quote, as Salman Wright has called it, to promote your business. Or you can use positioning, which is the older term that you're going to find if you research the idea. So you follow all these guys so we can learn how to use branding, positioning, marketing, and all sorts of things to grow our businesses as well. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening to the recording. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.